Let's say I hop in the car and y'all rob the store. I'm snitching on all y'all.
Shorty wanna ball with the tick. Money sitting tall, y'all mean.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy FAMOXXL coming to you live with another banger back with my boy.
And that's be a kid, and he likes to eat.
yeah. I don't know what he. Anyway, me doing the video. We gotta talk low cause everybody kind of sleep. Just like last time. Hey, if y'all at it, go ahead, lock it up. Go ahead, let's get up to like 15 likes. I ain't never asked y'all to get a certain like, but let it do it. You know what I'm saying? Go watch our old videos. You know, subscribe, turn on post notifications. It don't matter. Let's do it.
Chills. Number 7. Who stole Cal Ripken's mom? Cal Ripken, otherwise known as Iron Man, was a famous baseball player for the Baltimore Orioles from 1981 until 2001. During this time, he played an amazing 2,632 games in a row, the most ever in Major League Baseball history. As he approached the world record, he received a lot of death threats from people who did not want to see him succeed.
What?
But he bravely ignored them and followed through with his unbroken streak. Nothing could have prepared the Hall of Famer for what would happen to his own mother in 2011, however, long after he had retired.
I'm sorry,
Violet Ripken was 74 years old at the time. She was minding her own business in her garage one evening when a man jumped out at her while wearing a mask and pointing a gun. The assailant then blindfolded her and shoved her into the back seat of her own Lincoln Continental.
How do they know?
They sped off together.
I have no idea.
At one point, they pulled into Royal Farms convenience store for supplies, and a customer noticed Violet in the car. When he asked the kidnapper about the tied-up old woman in the back seat, the man quickly made up a story about how Violet was his mother, and since she had Alzheimer's disease, keeping her tied up like this was the only way to prevent her from wandering off on her own. Unsurprisingly, the man did not believe the story at all. He went inside and told the cashier about the suspicious encounter, who then called the cops and reported the car's tags. By then, the car had already pulled off. Sometime during the night, the kidnapper took Cal Ripken's mom with him to Walmart. She stayed tied up in the car while he used her credit card to buy more random items. The FBI quickly obtained the surveillance tape and released the footage to the public in hopes that they would be able to identify the abductor. When the police found out that someone had kidnapped Cal Ripken's mother, they dispatched every available unit to look for her. Fortunately, they didn't have to search for long. The very next morning, a 28-year-old neighbor by the name of Eric Snyder had spotted the silver Lincoln Continental sitting on the side of the road. There was a white sweater frantically waving out the back window. It was Cal Ripken's mother signaling for help. Her quick return was as confusing to police as it was a relief to the Ripken family. Why would anyone go through the trouble of kidnapping a famous athlete's family member and safely bring them back the very next morning? He didn't ask for any ransom money, and he didn't appear to have a personal vendetta against the Ripkens. As the only witness to the event, Violet's testimony held all the answers. Her story was not at all what the police were expecting. Violet said that her kidnapper had made it clear to her early on that he had no intention of bringing her harm. He was also extra polite to her at all times. At first, he wanted to tape her eyelids shut, but when the idea scared her too much, he decided to use fabric instead. He did keep her hands tied the entire time, but he also lit her cigarettes for her and got food for her too. He seemed genuinely concerned about her overall comfort the entire time. At no point did the kidnapper ask Violet about her son or his career as a Major League Baseball player. It appears the guy was completely oblivious that he had taken the mother of a famous celebrity. When he was finished using her credit cards to buy stuff all around town, he dropped her off on her own block and left. Cal Ripken initially offered a $2,000 reward for the man's identity at first, but in 2012, he bumped it up to $100,000 instead. Popular television personality John Walsh even took up the case and put it on his show, America's Most Wanted. Here, he calls the kidnapper a dirtbag while wearing an oversized trench coat and standing under a lamppost that's surrounded by studio fog. Somehow, this helpful strategy was not enough to solve the case, and the man still remains at large to this day. Number 6, the
So he
Facebook
pretty much
police.
just took somebody
In
else's mom,
2014, 3 teenagers
like
by
fries.
the names of Jenna Montgomery, Jess Taylor, and Blue Kalmbach decided to kidnap and torture an older kid by the name of Dustin Moraine as payback for calling one of them a homophobic slur on Facebook. To do this, Jenna acted like she was interested in meeting Dustin for some after-school fun. When he showed up, they hit him in the...
I ain't gonna lie, bro. This dude's voice is throwing me off, like the whole video, bro.
You can't hear how he's talking?
Bro,
She wanted to
it's
come
weird.
through the window and do that. Then she came back and threw that thing back. Alright, I'm done. Keep going.
Bro,
back of
it's
the head
throwing
with a
me
crowbar
off.
and tied him up instead. The teens then went about spending the rest of the day methodically torturing him in new and creative ways. First, Blue took a BB gun and alternated between shooting Dustin in his chest, finger, and groin at point-blank range. One of these areas required surgeries to remove the BB bullet, though news sources failed to say which. After that, Blue carved a swastika into his forehead using a box cutter, while Taylor kept the gun on Dustin. They hoped that the Nazi symbol would make him become hated by all and live life as an outcast forever. Next, they stole his iPod and drove him to an ATM so he could give them his money. After that, they wanted to steal his favorite skateboard. Instead, Dustin jumped out of the car and ran to an auto repair shop to phone for help.
Is that why
All
he
3
doing
teens have
little
been
swoops
since
over his
sentenced for
head?
their crimes. Jenna received 9 years and 11 months for luring Dustin in. Jess received 7 years and 9 months for his role. Since Blue committed the most acts of torture, he was sentenced to prison for the longest, 11 years. He will be 27 upon release. Another teenager, Shane Connell, 14, was not present during the attack, but since he gave permission to let it happen in his grandparents' shed, he was sentenced to 10 years. Dustin's swastika scar has since healed almost completely. He keeps his hair long to cover it up.
I know it.
Number 5, I Did It
I was
Their
right.
Way.
That whole thing was
Barry
just stupid.
Keenan was
Yeah.
23 and on drugs.
People actually out here crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you, man.
I hate to say it. None of them was. That's all I gotta say. Let them think what they want to think. Just know none of them was.
When he got the brilliant idea to kidnap the son of a wealthy singer with mafia connections, none other than Frank Sinatra Jr. Together, he and 2 of his friends, John Irwin and Clyde Amsler, quickly agreed to the bad plan. In December of
So they messed
1963,
with the mafia.
the trio went to the Harrah's
probably did.
Casino in Lake Tahoe. Keenan dressed up like he was with room service and knocked on Frank Sinatra Jr.'s dressing room door. When Sinatra Jr. answered, the 3 burst into the room and pointed a gun at him. There was also a trumpet player named John Foss who was there with Sinatra as well. The trumpet player was bound and gagged with tape, and Frank Jr. was blindfolded and removed from the room. A short time later, John Foss broke free of his restraints and quickly called the authorities. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Sinatra Jr. was held captive for 2 days while the kidnappers communicated back and forth with the FBI. Eventually, they set the ransom amount at $250,000 and agreed on a drop point to make the exchange. Barry and Clyde go out to get the money. John Irwin stays behind to watch over Sinatra. He gets nervous though and lets him go. When federal authorities spotted Sinatra Jr. walking around in Bel Air a short while later, they actually put him in their trunk so that the general public wouldn't notice as they took him back home. 2 days later, John Irwin gave himself up and ratted out all of his buddies. The rest of them got arrested shortly after. Their defense team makes up a story that Sinatra Jr. was in on the kidnapping this whole time because he wanted to become a bigger name in the entertainment industry. This story has since been discovered to be a lie, but it worked well enough at the time. The 3 were originally sentenced to life in prison, but each served less than 5 years. The Sinatra family has never forgotten the terrifying ordeal ever since. Number 4, off with his...
What you think about that, bro?
That was a waste of time. You know, we got 6ix9ines everywhere. They just popping up in every video, huh?
I mean, well, what was the whole point of doing that anyway, man?
I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't care if nobody snitch. Let's say I hop in the car and y'all rob the store. I'm snitching on all y'all. I'm telling you, I ain't going down for nobody. As soon as the police came, these kidnapped me. I'm not going down for nobody.
Well, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it right there, bro. We're gonna have to split it up because it's kind of long. But, yeah.